Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday for this Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management National Requirements for the Clean Energy Transition Partnership Joint Call 2024 Applicant Education Webinar. My name is Alex Krauke. I'm a Deputy Director for the Consensus Program at the United States Energy Association. For those of you who may not be as familiar with USEA, USEA is a nonprofit, apolitical, educational association that represents the full gamut of the energy industry. Our stakeholders are in every part of the energy industry, from fossils to renewables to nuclear to everything in between. Very much an all of the above energy organization. With a focus on doing whatever it takes to reach our clean energy transition goals. Many of USEA's programs actually happen abroad. USEA has projects on every continent except for Antarctica and Australia. Many of those projects are with the U.S. Agency for International Development, some with the State Department, and of course, we have projects with the U.S. Department of Energy. Mainly what is called our consensus program. The consensus program seeks to educate the public, policymakers, industry, and other stakeholders to build a consensus on the benefits of new requirements for CCUS and the other various carbon management technologies, carbon dioxide removal, methane emissions mitigation, hydrogen with carbon management, sustainable and domestic development of rare earths and carbon and critical minerals, and a few other topics as well. We do this through a series of activities such as briefings and webinars like the one we're having today. We have workshops, both virtual, in person, all across the US and sometimes internationally as well. We work with some of our subcontractors, such as Battelle and EPRI, to put out various research reports and white papers. And then we also have a news clips to keep our stakeholders informed. Quick logistical note for today. This webinar is being recorded. All of our attendees are permanently muted, if you will, and we will have a Q&A after the presentations. So please feel free to use the Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom window for any questions or comments that you may have. And then we will try to get to as many as possible by the end of the program. We do have a pretty packed program today, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. We have Dr. August Engelin starting us off to discuss the CETP funding opportunities within CCUS, hydrogen, and renewable fuels. Then we have Kevin Dooley discussing carbon transport and storage program priorities. He'll be followed by Andrew Lasko discussing carbon capture program priorities. Then Dr. Ian Rowe on carbon conversion program priorities. Dr. Marina Sophos discussing carbon dioxide removal program priorities. Bob Schreckengost discussing hydrogen with carbon management. And then closing us out will be Dr. Aaron Fuller to discuss FECM's national requirements for the CETP Joint Call 2024. That'll be followed by about 20 minutes or so of Q&A, and we will plan to conclude at approximately 11:45 a.m. Eastern. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and pass the mic over to Dr. Stangeland from the Research Council of Norway.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will start by trying to share my screen. Let's see if that works. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Very good, very good. Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation to this webinar. My name is August Stangeland. I'm working at the Research Council of Norway, but today I'm representing the CETP, the Clean Energy Transition Partnership, and I will brief you on first a brief introduction of the CETP, and then I will brief you on the CETP Joint Call 2024. There are very interesting funding opportunities for R&D within this platform, and we will come back to the details shortly. First of all, an introduction to the Clean Energy Transition Partnership. And this is a partnership of national research, development, and innovation programs. And the objectives is to achieve a climate neutral society by 2050, also to diversify energy supplies, and furthermore also to strengthen clean energy value chains and making them more sustainable. And the way we do this is to set up annual joint calls where we are asking for applications, R&D applications within the whole energy system. And in this platform, we have 33 countries that participate. 23 of them are EU member states, the European Union member states, and then we have 10 more associated countries. And as you can see, this is dominated by Europe, and that is because this started as an initiative within the European Union. But it's a global partnership, and we have many countries outside Europe as well. Of course, United States of America, we have Canada on board, India, and also Tunisia down in Africa. More countries are welcome to join if they wish to do so. And within this partnership, we are more than 47 funding partners. There were 47 the last time I counted, but there are new funding partners coming in all the time. And the funding partners are agencies, ministries, public program owners. And the reason that there are so many European Union countries on board is that the European Commission is putting on top-up funding to the European Union member states. And we have divided this whole structure into 13 different coordination units. And the coordinator on top of it is from BMK in Austria, together with SRIA in Sweden. So the whole thing is coordinated by Austria and Sweden. We set up annual calls, and for the 2024 call that has been published a few weeks ago, we have a total budget of about 100 million euros. That should be very similar to $100 million. So it's a huge call for R&D applications. You will find the call text at the website, and you will get access to these slides after the webinar, so it will be easy for you to find it. And when you go into our website, there will be a tag for the Joint Call 2024, and by going into that one, you will find all relevant documents. And I will present the most important details today. We have divided the whole platform into 7 different transition initiatives. And this is because the platform ranges from renewable energy to low carbon technologies like CCUS, and it also includes energy efficiency. So you can see the 7 TRIs listed here. I will not go into details on all of them, but for you, there are one of them that are very important, and that's number 3, enabling climate neutrality with storage technologies, renewable fuels at CCUS. And this one is important because this TRI is the one where DOE has placed its available budget for this call. And we have, as I said, annual joint calls. And each of those TRIs defines the scope for one or more call modules. And all the call modules are then topics for each of the annual joint calls. And as soon as we have designed all the call modules, it's up to each of the funding partners to decide which of the call modules they wish to participate in. And applicants should be aware that not all funding partners participate in all the call modules. And here you have an overview of the schedule. The call text is already out on our website. And the opening for pre-proposal submission will be in September, 19th of September. And the due date for submitting pre-proposals are 21st of November. So as you see here, it will be a 2-stage process. First, you have to submit pre-proposals. We will evaluate all eligible pre-proposals, and they will be assessed by external referees. And those pre-proposals scoring above a given threshold will be invited to submit full proposals. And the due date for submitting a full proposal will be 29th of January 2025. And that will be the opening, sorry, that will be the opening in January, and the closing, and that means the due date for submitting full application is 21st of March 2025. There will be a funding decision communicated July 2025. So you see that this is a long process, taking a year. And if you have a successful application, your project should tentatively start in September next year. And when you define your pre-proposal and later on your full proposal, please consult your national funding agencies, because there will be certain eligibility criteria in each country. And American applicants have to meet all American eligibility criteria. This is a list of the 10 different call modules that we have in this joint call that is out now, but I will limit it to only 2 of them, because US DOE have made budget available for only those 2 call modules listed here. Number 4 on carbon capture, utilization and storage, CCUS, and also on call module number 5, hydrogen and renewable fuels. So I will go into these 2 call modules in detail, and here is the key data for call module number 4 on CCUS. We open up for applications within CO2 capture, transport, utilization, and storage. Negative emission technologies are also included in the scope, and that means technologies like direct air capture, bioenergy with CCS, etc. We are opening up for projects that operates at TRL 5 or higher. So your project should end at TRL 5 or higher. Activities at lower TRLs can be included if they contribute to the higher TRL goal of the overall project. We also say that you have to include industrial involvement in the research and innovation activities. And the applied funding should be in the range of 1 to 4 million euros. And this is the overall total funding request from all the international partners. And this means that you need to team up with international partners to have an eligible application. And I will come back to that later. This is the key data for call module number 5 on hydrogen and renewable fuels. Here we are opening up for hydrogen and renewable fuel production. The scope also includes reliable and low-cost production technologies of new and advanced fuels. We also open up for fuel distribution infrastructure and also secure and safe fuel storage. We would like to see new projects on new or adapted end-use technologies. And again, projects must end at TRL 5 or higher. And also, like in the previous call module, activities at lower TRLs can be included if they contribute to the higher TRL of the overall project. And also, active industrial involvement is required in applications. So as I said earlier, you need to build an international consortium, and you need to have at least 3 eligible partners from 3 different countries. And I'm now talking about the countries that are participating in the CETP. So this is just an example on this slide. Here we have a consortium with a coordinator from Portugal. We have 2 US partners requesting funding from DOE, and we have a partner from Norway requesting funding from the Research Council in Norway. You could have a much larger consortium, you could have more countries involved, and you can have 1 or several partners from each country as well. But the basic requirement is at least 3 partners from at least 3 of the countries participating in the joint call. And we have a separate tool for matchmaking on our website. When you enter the website, there will be a tag that is named Join Our Community. By clicking this one, you will be asked to register. And if you do so, you will be introduced to an online society where you can team up with other partners from other countries. So there are several hundred partners who have joined this tool, and this could be a very good idea to find industrial partners that matches with your research interests. This is a little bit about the procedures for submitting an application and for evaluating the applications. And as I said, it's a 2-step procedure. First, you have to send us a pre-proposal. And if that has sufficient quality and is eligible in all involved countries, you will be invited to submit a full proposal. And during the eligibility check, we will send the application to each involved countries to make sure the funding agencies do a proper check of national eligibility criteria. Furthermore, the applications will be evaluated by 3 external experts. Sorry. The evaluation criteria will be excellence, impact, and implementation. Each of the 3 criteria will be scored from 0 to 5, where 5 is best. And we have a threshold. The total score of the 3 criteria need to be at least 10. And for each criteria, you need to score about 3 to have an eligible criteria. And when you submit your application, you need to select one of the call modules listed in the call text. And that means that as American applicants, you need to choose either number 4 on CCUS or number 5 on hydrogen and renewable fuels. And when you submit the application, it always starts with the international project coordinator. He enters key data into the submission portal, and then he invites all other project partners to join the submission system. And as it says at the bottom, you need codes defining your own organization. This has never been a problem before, and I think you very easily can find the appropriate code so that DOE can identify you. When it comes to eligibility, there are a lot of different criteria, and I will only talk about the most important ones. And I will repeat this once again because it's really important. You need at least 3 eligible partners from at least 3 different countries participating in this joint call. And furthermore, 2 of the 3 countries must be EU members or Horizon Europe associated countries. This means that if you have 3 countries, for example, USA, Germany, and let's say France, that would be eligible. That works very well. If you team up with, let's say, USA, Canada, and Sweden, that will not work because that was only one European Union country, Sweden. So in that case, you would need partners from 1 more country to make sure you have at least 2 EU countries, and in total 3 or more countries. And please also keep in mind that all applicants must be eligible for funding according to their national requirements. So all your US partners or applicants have to carefully read the US eligibility criteria that is added to the call text. Furthermore, you also need to have 1 project coordinator in your application, and that coordinator could be from any of the countries involved. It could be a US coordinator, or it could be a coordinator from other countries. The consortia are open for research organizations, universities, and higher education institutions. It is open for relevant stakeholders, industries, NGOs, etc. And also keep in mind that the total effort of one partner cannot exceed 60% of the total project efforts. So this means that you need to have a true international project that is not too much dominated from one country or one partner. And the total efforts from partners in one country cannot exceed 75%. And also you can include fully self-financed partners from any countries in your consortium. That will also work very fine. And this is a really important slide, I would say. There are national eligibility criteria in addition to the overall eligibility criteria. You have to stick to the US requirements, but keep in mind that when you team up with partners from other countries, tell the foreign partners that they also have to stick to their national requirements. And if we go back to the call last year, we had quite a lot of pre-proposals, but 25% of the pre-proposal applicants ended up with ineligible pre-proposals. 1 out of 4 applications were ineligible. Most of them were ineligibility because they did not meet national requirements. And quite many of the applicants were eligible, but they ended up in an ineligible application because the application failed in another country. So make sure that all partners read national requirements carefully and stick to the national requirements. That was my last slide, and I will stop sharing now. And if I remember correctly, Alex, we will take questions at the end of the workshop today. Isn't that so?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you so much, Dr. Stangl. And as you mentioned, due to time constraints, we're going to hold off on questions until the end. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Kevin Dooley to go ahead and discuss carbon transport and storage program priorities.
All right, give me 1 second. All right, can you confirm you can view the screen?
At the moment, we cannot see the screen, no.
All right, give me 1 second. All right, how about now?
Perfect.
Wonderful. All right, I am Kevin Dooley. I am part of the carbon transport and storage team here at DOE. Just want to say thank you all for allowing me to present today. I am not Darren Damiani. He is currently out on vacation, so I am filling in to help support CETP. Currently for DOE, currently for DOE, we recognize that the landscape of CCUS in the United States is rapidly evolving with projects. They are developing on almost all areas of the United States, and some of these developments are even occurring in the same geological basin. This development aligns with DOE's vision of large-scale carbon transport and storage development and how it will have to progress and develop onward to 2050 to support U.S. emissions reduction goals set forth by the U.S. administration. These goals start with supporting storage development in the 1 million tons per year range, currently seen today, and it will be exponentially growing to the gigaton scale out to 2050. With this development and storage, we expect a parallel growth in carbon transportation. Modeling estimates range from mileage of pipeline and complementary modes of transport will need to increase in effective mileage from approximately 5,000 miles today of pipeline to over 25,000 to 100,000 miles of pipeline by 2050. With respect to funding opportunities provided through CETP, carbon transport and storage is providing approximately $2 million to support this development. We're seeking to support research and development in both transport and storage at technology readiness levels between TRL 3 to 6. This funding call is open, as we mentioned previously, to U.S. national labs and to the public and private research entities through collaborations and partnerships. At a high level, we are interested in tools and technologies that will support the development of CTNS at a regional and basin scale. This can include technologies that can support enhanced or more effective monitoring, reporting, and verification, and reduce uncertainty in collected information. Additionally, the use of verification of existing or of novel materials. Let me repeat that. Additionally, the use and verification of existing or novel materials will hopefully be investigated too as an area of interest to hopefully reduce the cost of storage and transport while not sacrificing long-term integrity. From an infrastructure perspective, we are interested in the potential for carbon management hubs and basin scale-like development. This can include potential areas of interest such as multimodal transportation and or offshore infrastructure. I would just like to flag that from the transport perspective, we were able to release a applied research and development report last year in 2023 following the results and conclusions from a workshop. This report is available online through the DOE website and can be provided if needed. This report pretty much goes into detail in key research areas, including management of impurities, leak detection and emergency response, repurposing infrastructure, and looking at fracture propagation of metals and dispersion modeling. These areas of research and development are of particular interest for the transport division, as we foresee future emitters such as steel, cement, and others from industrial activities being included in CCUS in the future. In particular, concern leak detection and emergency response is a area of interest because of the impact it has on communities and hopefully community engagement through permitting processes. Just to reiterate too, on multimodal transport, we're seeing national and international development of multimodal hubs. These can include rail, tanker truck, rail car, ocean-going vessels, and pipelines. This is a way to access, CCUS hubs in regions where existing infrastructure is not available, and hopefully bridge the gap between sources and sinks when they are not geographically close. And that is it from the carbon transport and storage perspective.
Great. Thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate you taking the time and kind of stepping in for Darren at the last minute there. Next up, we have Andrew Lasko to discuss the carbon capture program's priorities. Andrew, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I'm going to try to launch my share that. Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see your screen. Just want to go into full screen mode.
Okay, and display settings. Okay, are we good to go? You can see it,
yes.
right?
Yep,
Super.
you are good to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
So basically, what I'll do is I'll discuss, first of all, introduction. My name is Andrew Klasko. I'm a Senior Program Manager for Point Source Carbon Capture, U.S. Department of Energy, Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management. It's a lot, but yeah, I'm happy to be here discussing this topic with you. And I'll start off with just a high-level view and narrow down on the structure of our program. So U.S. Department of Energy is composed of various offices. These address different aspects of energy generation, storage, transmission, and also on how clean energy technology can be developed and commercialized. That's when where our office comes in, Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management. And again, our operative focus is on carbon management. And just to highlight some aspects here, we also work very closely with other DOE offices, including Clean Energy Demonstrations, which is tasked with using carbon capture technology and implementing it at commercial scale for technology demonstration projects. We also work with the loan programs that helps to fund carbon capture projects. So that's the high level view. We'll narrow down now. We'll look at the Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management. So there's different areas of interest in FECM or our office. I, in particular, work on point source carbon capture, and point source carbon capture is basically addressing cost and efficiency of new carbon capture technologies at particular point sources of those emissions. And the next question would be, what are point source carbon capture sources? Well, these are pretty straightforward. They're either power plants, cement plants, steel or other metal plants, be it aluminum or anything else, and hydrogen plants. The challenge for point source carbon capture is to come up with technologies that address these various types of CO2 emission sources. And one of the challenges that should be pretty apparent from this particular slide is that the CO2 concentration for each of these sources varies greatly. So for example, for a power plant, natural gas carbon capture power plant, you have CO2 sources, flue gases with a 4% CO2 concentration. That goes up for industrial plants between 15 and 20%. And then for example, for hydrogen plants, that flue gas concentration can vary anywhere between 15 and 45% CO2. So again, our challenge is to find technologies and fund projects that address these various types of carbon capture emissions with their own challenges in terms of CO2 concentration, but also in particulates that need to be treated in the flue gas before CO2 carbon capture is attempted. Our mission, again, is to develop, first of all, cost-effective carbon capture technologies, again, throughout the power generation, but also, more importantly now, is our focus on industrial sectors and on CDRs, which will also be discussed later on in this presentation. Key drivers for us are to reduce costs, to reduce CapEx, OpEx, and again, do so in various conditions that the carbon capture plant needs to operate. We want to demonstrate, not only develop the technology, but demonstrate it to be a reliable and cost-effective carbon capture technology. Our overarching goal is to support the U.S. achievement of carbon-free power sector by 2035 and a zero carbon economy by 2050. So pretty ambitious goals, and we certainly are proud to do our share to make these happen. The CETP call for 2024, again, for point source carbon capture for U.S. Department of Energy is a very important aspect of how we are trying to develop technology. We want to leverage not only U.S. technology sponsors, but also international technology sponsors. And CETP is a fantastic platform to be able to do that. So U.S. Department of Energy, as part of CETP, is encouraging and funding CO2 capture projects that address intensive industrial sectors and heavy industry, along with power industry. Our projects that we would like to see and we would like to consider for funding would include industries such as waste to energy, cement production, steel, aluminum, and other metal production. Of course, power sector, both natural gas and coal and any other that can apply. Maritime transport is also an important aspect that we are looking at. We're also looking just as a caveat to that, we're also looking at rail transport and truck transport with carbon capture potential. Another area of interest for us is hydrogen production from natural gas, and I think there will be other speakers that will be addressing hydrogen in more detail. But we are interested in it as an aspect of point source carbon capture, and of course reactive carbon capture, that is integrates CO2 conversion and capture and use of CO2 in products. Again, our goal is from the technical aspect is to come up with cost-effective technologies that remove basically 95 to 100% of CO2 from flue gases, and these flue gases, again, maybe various concentrations, various particulates that need to be addressed, etc. So all of these challenges are something that we would like to see in projects that are proposed as part of CETP that would qualify for point source carbon capture. So in a nutshell, that is my my presentation. I'll provide my email here for folks if they want to reach out to me directly, and also I'll be around for questions at the end of the session.
Great, thank you so much, Andrew. Some really interesting opportunities there that hopefully we can discuss a little bit more in the Q&A session. So next up, we have Dr. Ian Rowe, a Division Director of the Division of Carbon Conversion at DOE's Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management. With that, Ian, the floor is yours. If you'd like to go ahead and share your screen when you get a chance.
Thanks, Alex.
You're already on top of it. Thank you.
I think I'm moving in that direction right now. You can see it, I assume?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Alex. Hi, everybody. My name is Ian Rowe. I'm the Division Director for the Carbon Dioxide Conversion Program in the Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management. And I'll quickly provide an overview of the program, the different areas within the division, the technologies we focus on, and then I'll close with some current opportunities to kind of provide a flavor of the R&D we are currently pursuing and interested in. I think that would be a good perspective for an international community to have who is looking to work with the program. So to start, what is the carbon dioxide conversion program's focus? Is to perform research development, to enable research development and demonstration of a broad suite of technologies for converting carbon dioxide into environmentally responsible, equitable, and economical products, fuels, chemicals, to help meet the needs of a decarbonized economy by 2050. We have three major program areas, technology areas within carbon conversion, and that would be the biological conversion of CO2, the catalytic conversion of CO2, and the mineralization of CO2, all of these targeting a variety of chemicals, products, etc. And just to give some scope in terms of the size of the program, it has seen robust increases over the past decade, and we are currently funded at $52 million in FY24. So now to describe how it aligns with the broader Department of Energy goals, it aligns with, of course, the strategic vision within the Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management, DOE's industrial decarbonization roadmap. So how do you find low carbon solutions for industries that are important to our economy for the next, well, they'll continue to be important for our economy regardless of how we decarbonize. The Sustainable Aviation Fuel Grand Challenge Roadmap, and our DOE Energy Earthshots initiative, specifically the goal for clean fuels and products by 2050. And all of this to really sum up the top line goals of the administration when it comes to the energy and climate goals. That would be a carbon-free power sector by 2035 and a net zero economy by 2050. And the carbon conversion program's real focus is enabling that net zero economy by 2050. So trying to tackle all of the fuels, chemicals, and products that are going to be persistent needs in the economy that really you can't decarbonize. You cannot remove the use of carbon in those products with a battery or something like that. They will continue to be carbon-based. And the carbon conversion program offers more sustainable carbon solutions for those areas of the economy. Now, in terms of the different technology areas of the program, we have the biological conversion of carbon dioxide. Obviously, that focuses on algal systems. So think of this as both micro and macro algae. And we are interested in R&D for the growing engineering, be that genetic engineering or strain development or finding new strains of algae and perfecting how to grow them, how to harvest, dewater, and convert them to chemicals and products. And beyond and we do a lot of that work in collaboration with the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energies Bioenergy Technologies office here in the department. Also, beyond just algae for bioconversion, we're interested in non-photosynthetic biological means of converting carbon dioxide. This includes basically if algae operate by using photosynthesis to get the energy to perform carbon dioxide conversion, these are looking for efforts that instead can leverage renewable electricity, either directly or indirectly, to convert CO2. You think of stuff like carbon dioxide plus hydrogen fermentation via acetogen, so putting both of them in a gas fermenter and providing an acetogen or another autotrophic organism that can convert it to fuels and chemicals. There would be chemosynthesis. So this is really targeting microorganisms that can use something other than hydrogen as a reducing power. So think of this as reduced agents like reduced sulfur compounds, reduced iron compounds, ammonia, to provide the reducing power for CO2. And then microbial electrosynthesis. And this would be developing technologies for a biology to actually exist on an electrode surface, use electricity directly to perform carbon dioxide reduction into biomass or fuels and chemicals. In addition to the biological routes for converting carbon dioxide, of course, we have a robust mineralization program with roughly 3 different technology categories. Here's is the way I'm going to characterize them right now. The carbonation of traditional cementitious material for sustainable concrete. So think of activities like mixing carbonation or the carbonation curing of precast concrete. So really using CO2 to become part of the concrete and increase its structural strength. Using CO2 to make synthetic aggregates. So you think of using industrial waste to make aggregates that can be added to increase the strength or other properties of concrete or other building materials. And then finally, the carbonation of supplementary cementitious materials for sustainable concrete. So this would be carbonating things like other industrial waste, biochar, or calcium silicates that are non-hydraulic in order to enable them to act as feedstocks in cement and concrete production. And finally, beyond mineralization, we are also interested in the catalytic conversion of carbon dioxide. So there are multiple ways to do this. Some of the ways, so thermocatalysis, where the energy for converting the CO2 comes from heat provided to the system. In addition, electrocatalysis, instead of using heat, electricity is directly used to perform carbon dioxide reduction into C1, 2, or 3 carbon length intermediates. Non-thermal plasma, and this is where you use a plasma in an electric field to reduce carbon to carbon monoxide, and then you can further upgrade it from there. Photocatalysis, this is where you have a catalytic event that uses the energy of the sun to perform carbon dioxide reduction directly. And then reactive carbon capture, and this really merges carbon dioxide capture with carbon dioxide conversion in a single step or a single reactor. So you're not spending a lot of energy removing CO2 from whatever capture media and then converting it. You're trying to do all of that in one step. And in addition to focusing on each of these CO2 reduction strategies, we're also interested in technologies that can couple one form of CO2 catalysis to some other upgrading form. So above, you'll see that the scheme where you use renewable electricity to make hydrogen and you take carbon dioxide, and you can have multi-step reactors to convert a CO intermediate into some kind of alkenes or other oxygenated compounds, or you can engineer a multi-stage reactor to perform both reactions. And in addition, this other schematic where you could have CO2 convert it via multiple different routes. So here, just an example of you could use electrolysis, either low or high temperature. You could also use thermocatalysis or whatever to make carbon monoxide, which can be converted via, for example, syngas fermentation to ethanol, which can then be upgraded to jet fuel. Again, our program really focuses on these first two steps of really converting CO2, and then what would you maybe do with such an intermediate to further upgrade it. And finally, to close out, I wanted to just highlight some current opportunities that are out there so you can get a flavor of what the program was focused on in FY24 and just currently what the state of interest is for the program. So first is a BOA 2614 that went out back in the beginning of the, well, actually in the first quarter of the fiscal year. And this one targeted non-photosynthetic biological conversion of CO2, as well as the conversion of carbon dioxide to plastics and solid carbon products. We currently have those applications in hand and we're reviewing those, hope to announce them by the end of the fiscal year. Recently, we just released the Clean Fuels and Product Shot Carbon Utilization Funding Opportunity announcement. And this one is targeting engineering scale testing of electrochemical systems for the conversion of CO2, as well as people that are interested in retrofitting of existing refineries for carbon conversion technology. So think of this as how do you engineer a new unit operation that uses carbon dioxide as the feedstock, and how would you then get that into a refinery to displace a process that currently uses fossil carbon as a feedstock. And lastly, we are working with our national lab partners on a consortia for the electrocatalytic conversion of CO2 into products, really focused on what is needed to make CO2 electrocatalysis industrially relevant. So this goes beyond maybe your more basic technologies that would focus on catalyst development, small scale engineering of H cells for electrocatalysis, and really how would you scale these up so that they are commercially relevant? What are the hurdles there, and how can the national labs help industry with this? The consortium's currently under development, but we look to launch it in FY25, and we will be anxious for industrial and international collaborators there. Lastly, there's my name and email. Open to any questions you have at any time, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Great, thank you so much, Ian. We have a few minutes before our next presenter, so I just wanted to make a couple of notes on the topic. I know one of the projects that I've worked with your colleague Aaron Fuller on was the UP grants program. So for US-based entities or attendees, DOE has these utilization procurement grants for state and local entities, governments, as well as public agencies and utilities, to help them procure products that have been manufactured through the utilization of carbon oxides. So just want to highlight that. And then I believe within the last couple of days, IRS issued their guidance for 45Q tax credits to be used for utilization. So just wanted to note those two things.
Correct. Yep. Things are moving hot and heavy in the utilization space. So exciting time to be a researcher there. Thanks.
It is indeed. All right. Thanks, Ian. Next up, we have Dr. Marina Sophos from Office of Carbon Management Technologies to discuss carbon dioxide removal program priorities. An exciting space over at DOE, and excited to hear your program update.
Great. Thank you, Alex. Can you hear me okay? See my slides?
Yes, to both.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks. I think this is actually a really nice segue from Ian's presentation. I'm going to be presenting on the carbon dioxide removal division and our programs. And just to get started, how we all fit. And my slides are not advancing. Bear with me. Okay, are you able to, oh, I have to restart this. Okay, can you guys see everything okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, and is it advancing now?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So how do we fit in within the Office of Carbon Management? So the carbon dioxide removal division is fairly new. It was formally stood up in FY21, as you can see from the bar graph here. We kind of started at $40 million mark, now moving up to 70 million per year. So that's kind of roughly the average annual appropriations. How we kind of sit within the office, Ian and the carbon utilization team are looking at the actual conversion of atmospheric CO2 into a valuable product. As Andrew talked about point source, they're looking at the similar processes and pathways, but using point source CO2. In our case, we're looking at atmospheric CO2 and how we draw that down using a variety of pathways, but again, focused on the removal of atmospheric CO2 legacy emissions from the atmosphere. And so this all kind of fits within the umbrella of a department-wide energy earthshot around being able to achieve high levels, the gigaton scale of CO2 removal on an annual basis with an eye towards durable carbon storage. So what we mean by that is that we are looking at pathways that will result in the CO2 that's removed being locked in and durably stored on a century's time scale. So really kind of building upon the on nature-based solutions that have been around for millennia and trying to engineer solutions that are longer lasting. And we know at this point that atmospheric CO2 is not just a nice to have, it's a need to have. We don't know exactly how much we're going to need, but all pathways to get us to net zero by 2050 are going to rely on not just abating and reducing emissions, but also negative emissions or carbon dioxide removal. And those projections are at that 5 to 15 gigaton scale by 2050. So as a result of that, we know that it's necessary, but this industry is still relatively nascent. These technologies haven't had the decades of research and development that others have. And so we have to very quickly develop the research and development capabilities based off of the kind of fundamental understanding that we have of these technologies, and build an industry around them and very quickly deploy. And so that requires both being responsive in terms of the timeliness, but also doing it in a responsible fashion, and ensuring that we are truly removing CO2 and we're doing it in a durable and permanent fashion. So we have 4 pathways that we are predominantly focused on. The first being direct air capture. This has been a big effort department-wide over the last 2 years as a result of the bipartisan infrastructure bill and the call for the large-scale DAC hubs. But we are also overseeing a lot of the technical areas of interest in terms of developing front-end engineering studies and developing newer, kind of more nascent chemistries that could be deployed in a DAC system. This also then includes another pathway is bioenergy carbon capture and storage, which now kind of has transitioned into from BECCS to bikers, where we're not just looking at biomass as a form of energy, but also biomass as a form of carbon storage. How do we utilize biomass and convert into more durable forms of carbon storage, recognizing that the value that of the carbon within that biomass is just as important as potentially the energy it could provide. So that's another kind of synergy that we have with the conversion team and what Ian presented. We also look at enhanced mineralization, but in our case, we're looking at, again, the actual removal process and then kind of handing off potential conversion pathways into valuable products in working with the conversion team. But this has been, again, a newer area for us over the last year, exploring enhanced rock weathering, exploring kind of the dual application of using industrial waste and byproducts and mine tailings, both for carbon mineralization. So taking those alkali minerals and accelerating the natural process that occurs between CO2, air, and water as part of that natural carbon cycle, accelerating that to happen more quickly and lock in the CO2 into a carbonate mineral. When you're looking at mine tailings, there's an opportunity there to also extract the critical minerals. So that is an area that provides a lot of synergies with other equities within the Office of Carbon Management and Fossil Energy and Carbon Management from a resource sustainability standpoint. And then finally, there's soil carbon sequestration, which is a natural process that we can also kind of further exploit. And so I already kind of covered those overall pathways, those 4 key pathways. Kind of emerging as well is ocean-based carbon dioxide removal, or marine CDR, which includes enhanced ocean alkalinity, direct ocean capture. We recently signed a memorandum of agreement with NOAA, our National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, to kind of leverage our complementary technical capabilities to further advance that field. And we also recently put out a funding opportunity referred to as the Carbon Negative Shot Pilots funding opportunity. So this is really looking at the department-wide carbon negative shot goal, where we're setting a target of, can we achieve $100 per ton at the gigaton scale of permanent durable carbon storage by 2032. To do that, we need to move from the lab or benchtop out into the field to pilot scale testing. And so what we're funding through the Carbon Negative Shot Pilots FOA are the pathways outside of direct air capture, where we already have a significant investment through the DAC hubs. So in this case, we have an enhanced mineralization track. We also have a biomass carbon removal and storage, or bikers track. And then we have a multi-pathway testbed track. To complement that too, outside of that funding opportunity, we're continuing to investigate and further invest in marine-based and ocean-based CDR. And so this just gives you kind of a snapshot of where the CDR portfolio sits within DOE towards achieving the carbon negative shot goal and the technology readiness levels that we're investing in. So we partner very closely with the Office of Science, Basic Energy Sciences, and ARPA-E in that very low TRL material and component level development. We are now investing in kind of bench scale around enhanced mineralization and direct air capture through the funding opportunities I mentioned before, hoping to look more into ocean-based carbon removal in the future. We're also now investing in small pilots, as I mentioned, for enhanced mineralization and direct air capture. And we have active projects, and then we have plans through this funding opportunity that recently closed to do work in biomass carbon removal and storage as well. And then kind of looking out to the higher TRLs for front-end engineering and design studies, as well as the DAC hubs. These right now are taking place around direct air capture with future efforts and a partnership with the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations. So they're overseeing the larger scale hubs and management oversight there. We're providing technical due diligence and then complementing that, doing those front-end engineering design studies and additional technology development. And then finally, our big international engagement comes through a variety of bilateral as well as multilateral activities. This includes the Clean Energy Ministerial Mission Innovation, the CDR Launchpad. So this slide here gives you kind of a flavor for where we're working bilaterally, where there's complementary R&D to be pursued, as well as on the multilateral level, really thinking about capacity building. How can we share information and really catalyze this industry as quickly as possible? Because the time, the clock is definitely ticking, and we need these solutions deployed fairly rapidly and on a global scale. And with that, I think that is the end for me, right on time. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and good luck to you all as you pull together your proposals.
Great. Thank you so much, Marina. Really appreciate you joining us. Also at the last minute, as Rory had to, or got called onto the Hill. So thank you for presenting this. I think as the IPCC noted, we don't reach our climate goals without CDR. So incredibly important topic here.
Yeah, thank you.
With that, we'll pass it on to Bob Schreckengast, Division Director of the Division of Hydrogen with Carbon Management within FECM, to discuss his program's priorities. Bob, the floor is yours.
All right. Hey, thanks, Alex. And thanks for the opportunity to present here today. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the hydrogen and clean fuel priorities that fit into the hydrogen with carbon management technologies. So first off, a quick plug for fossil energy and carbon management strategic vision. It really lays out priorities for all the divisions that you've heard from today. So it's an excellent reference. What I'll talk about are our priorities here. So we're looking very hard at pathways to net zero or even net negative hydrogen production. Looking at solid waste streams like unrecyclable plastics, municipal solid waste, even legacy coal waste, along with sustainable biomass co-feed to reduce carbon intensity to zero or even below zero. Also looking at the use of zero carbon fuels and turbines and reversible solid oxide cells for power generation or long duration energy storage applications. So this is a closer look at the hydrogen production technologies that would be applicable for funding from my division under this call. Advanced natural gas reforming technologies. We're not looking at vanilla SMR or autothermal reforming, really looking for some advancement there, such as microwave enhanced reforming or sorbent enhanced reforming. Something that reduces the cost and increases the output of that process. Also looking at high temperature electrolysis with the solid oxide electrolytic cells or even reversible solid oxide cells. So applications that use high temperature electrolysis to make hydrogen from excess power would fit as well. Co-gasification of biomass and wastes. Solid waste streams. This is an illustration of a MFIX modeling tool that we have. This is an example of feeding a mixed feed of biomass and other solid waste materials. Also looking at methane pyrolysis and chemical looping. as potential hydrogen, clean hydrogen production methods that would fit here. As far as, oops, double click there, sorry about that. Now this is a closer look at the clean fuel use applications where, you know, turbines are in my division. And so right now we're looking at hydrogen and ammonia fueled gas turbine combustion. That's one application that would be very applicable to us. Also looking at rotating detonation engines, which is also called pressure gain combustion. That's a new power generation application that has a potential for up to a 5 percentage point increase in, we still seeing my screen okay? I just got a weird message. Okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay, sorry, I got a weird message from Zoom there. The rotating detonation engines, like I said, a step change in efficiency. Also, again, looking at reversible solid oxide cells, either alone so that they can act as electrolyzers or fuel cells, depending on the grid requirements at the time, or an integrated with a hybrid energy system. I think here's an illustration with a gas turbine, where an electrolytic cell and a gas turbine reduce the cost of energy when combined in a hydrogen system through our modeling, and also improve clean fuel production of things like methanol from clean hydrogen. So just a quick look at the technologies that would be able for funding under our program. And that's all I have today. So thanks very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Bob. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. With that, we'll pass it off to Dr. Aaron Fuller, Program Engineer for Division of Carbon Conversion at DOE's Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management, to discuss FECM's national requirements for the CETP Joint Call 2024 and to close us out with the presentations for the day. And Aaron, just
thank you, Alex. I hope everyone can see my screen okay.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I'm Aaron Fuller. I'm a carbon conversion program engineer here at DOE headquarters in the Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management. I will give just a quick general information of why this is important to us all for CCUS, and then go over some national requirement specifics applicable to all applicants who are part of a proposal and seeking funding from the DOE for this Joint Call 2024. So as most of you may have already know, there's administrative goals, of course, to have 50% reduction economy-wide in net greenhouse gas pollution from the 2005 levels. There's also the goal of carbon neutral power sector by 2035 and carbon neutral economy by 2050. And as it was already noted by Augie, our funding will be applicable to call proposals submitted in call module 4 or 5, carbon capture, utilization and storage, and hydrogen and renewable fuels. So it's important to reiterate again some important aspects. Stage 1 proposals will be due 21st of November this year, and the deadline for 4 proposals will be due next year at the end of March. And it's very important that all the applicants pay attention to the eligibility criteria because they're different. You have your transnational eligibility criteria that applies to all proposals. Then you have your call module requirements eligibility criteria that only applies to proposals submitted to that specific call module. And then you have your national regional requirements. So these requirements come from the funding body agency from which the organization or entity is situated, whichever country it is located. So all 3 of these criteria must be met. It's very important that that is understood and adhered to. So real brief, some point of contacts for the US for each different program area. As you can see here, Dan Darmiani for carbon transport and storage, Robert Schecklengoss for hydrogen and carbon management, myself, Andrew Halasco, for carbon capture, and Roy Jacobson for carbon dioxide removal, CDR. So what do we have here committed for this joint call 2024? In total, we have up to approximately $8 million committed for the entire call modules, both for call module 4 and call module 5 in total. And that's important it's important to note that this is distributed upon the different program areas, meaning how much they are contributing to this call module from their program area. So as you see here, the carbon capture program area will contribute 2 million, carbon transport and storage 2 million, carbon conversion 2 million, hydrogen and carbon management 1 million, and CDR 1 million. So that's important to note that not all the 8 million is for just one call module. It's of course divided upon the different program areas, as the monies from each program area are authorized by Congress, of course, to only support what they can within their specific topic areas. So from the entire call, we anticipate to fund about 6 to 12 total projects from all the call modules included. And it's important to understand that a maximum funding award would be no more than $1 million per project. That means no more than $1 million for all the U.S. entities or partners within a project. So all the U.S., if it's one entity from the U.S., then okay, the 1 million will be for that entity. If it's 3, then the 1 million has to be divided upon those 3 entities within the project. So it's important to note that that would be the total maximum support received from each project. So this call, as was noted by someone earlier, is open to U.S. national laboratories and their public or private research partners. So it's very important to understand, because what that means is that the main U.S. partner must be one of the designated DOE national laboratories. So we will only fund or send the money or give the money, transfer the money to the DOE national laboratory. However, they can have the subcontractors who they collaborate with throughout their networks on this. But what that means is that the DOE national laboratory is responsible for all the outcomes, management, overseeing of the U.S. total part within the project. The DOE National Laboratory does not have to be the person that received the most money or does, say, the most work from the U.S. part, but they're responsible for the outcome as the PI for the U.S. part of the total project, and that has to be understood. So as you know, we're focusing on call modules 4 and 5. It's and there's a link here with for more detailed information if you want about the strategic vision that we have in FECM, and it's very important, and we encourage you to make sure your activities strongly align with these areas. Otherwise, you may be deemed ineligible from us as far as national requirements are concerned. Again, this was mentioned earlier also, strategic vision, and typically, I guess, we're supporting projects between TRL 3 and 6. As was mentioned earlier by Augie, the overall TRL for such proposals applied to this call should be 5 or higher. However, you are allowed to have certain aspects within the project lower than the TRL 5, just as long as they support reaching the TRL 5 and higher. So that's also to be noted. And it's important to note that in all aspects, besides technological solutions, you want to address environmental, social, and economic implications that might impact industrial application of your project proposed technologies. So you want to have some means of developing strategies between project coordinators and communities that lead to mutual benefits and social acceptance. And so we also focusing on technologies that lead to sustainable energy resources. This is also very important. And it's also very important to focus and be mindful of deep decarbonization, we say, because the technological approaches should be effective and also be considered just pathways to deep decarbonization. So it's also important that we encourage applicants, but it's not required. We encourage applicants to include in their scope and budget tasks and aspects for making project data available to the international research community through a CO2 data share portal. So eligible costs for applicants can be found for this link. So I'm sure that most applicants are aware of the eligible costs for such call models and the type of call that they're applying to. So as noted, maximum funding percentages would be 100% for basic research, applied research, or spend on development innovation, depending on what the aspect of your project is. And that 100% would be funded to the national laboratory up to $1 million as previously noted. Thank you for your time and attention.
Great. Thank you so much, Aaron. Really appreciate you taking the time to provide that overview. And we unusually have finished a little bit ahead of schedule. So that means that we have a good 20-25 minutes here for Q&A. And a lot of questions have been coming in through the Q&A box. Some of our speakers have been answering them in the chat, so encourage you to take a look at that. But I will start off with the questions that haven't been answered in the chat. And before I do that, I just want to remind everyone that we will make the recording of this webinar as well as the copies of the slides available on our website on usca.org on our event page. And we will plan to send a note to everyone who registered once that recording and those slides are available. That should be sometime next week, earlier or mid next week. So with that, I'm going to go into some of these questions that have been coming in. The first one that I'm going to ask is for you, Bob. A couple of people have touched on the hydrogen storage topic. So CM 2024-05, hydrogen renewable fuels, specifically points out the topic on secure and safe fuel storage in the case of hydrogen, including geologic storage. Subsurface hydrogen storage is also part of FECM's strategic vision. Will FECM support applications on subsurface hydrogen storage for the FY24 CETP?
So thanks for that question. As Aaron mentioned, the Congress appropriates our money, and we have colors of money where we can spend our research funds. My hydrogen with carbon management division does not include geological hydrogen storage. That's under our Office of Resource Management. And that's a different division that is not participating in this funding call. So unfortunately, storage aspects, I don't have the right color of money to fund hydrogen storage aspects under this call. So I regretfully have to answer that no, that won't be able to be covered by US funding.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification. And then this is kind of a general question, I guess, probably for Age or Aaron. Will U.S. entities be funded in U.S. dollars or euros?
U.S. dollars.
U.S. dollars. Okay, great. Thank you. Now, staying on the hydrogen topic. Actually, this came during Andrew's point source presentation. So between Andrew and Bob, we should be able to get it answered. The 15 to 40% CO2 emissions range from hydrogen plants, is the range based on the SMR colored hydrogen or a variable range from specific individual hydrogen plant operations?
So this is Andrew. I'll try to answer that. Maybe Bob can follow up. Basically, it ranges on the type of plant we're dealing with and the type of technology that it uses for its hydrogen processing. But again, the range, the idea here is that the range can be very broad, and the technology that we're looking for should be flexible enough to address that. Bob, any thoughts, any follow-up?
Bob, you're muted. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, you got it just right, Andrew. It really does depend on the specifics of the project process. So, like you said, it's a challenge to handle that wide of a range of CO2 concentrations, but you got it.
Great. Thank you both. And Andrew, sticking with you, and including Marina in this one as well. In which program does a hybrid approach that can currently implement CDR from point source and DAC for CCUS?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. In which program would a hybrid approach that concurrently implement CDR from point source and DAC for CCUS?
Okay, so I'll address it from the point of view of point source carbon capture. So when we look at any kind of projects that are CDR related, again, the capture has to be at a specific point, and then the CO2 is utilized for production of products. So that's sort of the angle from the point source carbon capture. It's got to meet those kind of criteria for us to consider that project. I'm not sure if that answers the question, or because it's sort of a hybrid of capture and CDR. But again, it's got to be at a certain point. Any thoughts there, Marina?
I think that's a good way to frame it, right? So it really depends on what the actual technology development that's being proposed is. So, we would look at it from the perspective of kind of within the proposed concept, what are the elements and how does it get to achieving this CNS goal, the carbon negative shot goal? So anything that's coming from a point source wouldn't count towards achieving those metrics and those targets. So very similar to kind of Andrew's perspective on the point source. It would have to meet the criteria that we're looking at to be considered, even though it's an integrated approach.
Great. Thank you both for those clarifications. Really appreciate that. And then Aga, I saw that you would like to answer one of the questions that came in, which was if we could share the link, the matchmaking link, if possible. So I'll let you answer that in person, and then I'll type the link into the Q&A as well.
Yeah, I had hoped to write the link, but I pushed the wrong button. So I am up for answering this orally, but that's fine. I entered the link in the chat, so you can find it there.
Perfect. And I will also enter it into the chat as well, so everyone sees that. While I have you, another question came in. Can Nigeria join the CETP, and kind of what are the requirements for membership?
Can you just repeat, was it Nigeria?
Nigeria, yes.
Yes. Well, at the moment, Nigeria is not a CETP member, and they have not allocated any budget for the call, but they are welcome to join. But if they will join, I have no idea. I do not have any signals that I intend to join. And as long as there are no budget from the Nigerian officials, it is not possible for Nigerian stakeholders to apply. They can be included in an application if they are financed by other sources than CETP.
Great, thank you for that. And then going back to Marina, does DOE consider biochar carbon sequestration that I guess is considered sequestered for more than 100 years? I'm understanding this question
So
correctly.
biochar can certainly fit within our bikers pathway. That being said, given that target around durable century scale storage, we put a significant emphasis on measurement, reporting, and verification, as well as life cycle analysis. And we typically require some level of effort and due diligence on that. So you would need to show how your utilization of biochar will lead to a century scale level of storage.
Great, thank you. And in keeping you on the spot, and Andrew may be able to answer this as well. Could you please let us know how we monitor, measure, and validate the CO2 in the atmosphere before we capture and remove from stacks?
So when we talk about point source carbon capture, we actually talk about the flue gas coming from that point source. So we don't necessarily, we want to lessen the impact on the atmosphere of the resulting CO2 stream getting there. But we look at the flue gas stream, the concentration of CO2, the particulates that we have to deal with to purify the flue gas before it's processed. But again, we look at that point source and it's flue gas that's coming in, and make a decision based on the appropriate technology and the approach based on that flue gas and its composition.
Great, thank you for that, Andrew.
Yeah, and I think that question is more applicable on the point source. I mean, on the atmospheric, we're not looking for a measurement of what's existing in the atmosphere, but rather how much is being captured. So hopefully that clarifies things as well.
Great, I think it does. So thank you. Next question, going back to Age, I think, does the US CETP Module 5 require partnership with a US industry if the Norwegian or German partner already has Norwegian and or German industry partner?
So if there are a German industrial partner involved, that would be fine for CETP. And if I'm correct, I do think that will be okay for USA, and it will not be required any more US industrial partner. Please, Aaron or Andrew, confirm if this is correct.
Hello, Age and Alex. Yes, that is correct. Because a national lab could also be the only US partner participating in it.
Got it. Thank you both. Now, this is kind of an interesting question that I'm going to direct towards Ian. Are there any initiatives on CO2 conversion to elemental carbon or graphite using high energy lasers for further replacement of wood as extensive construction material while saving trees?
Ian has stepped out. Unfortunately, had to leave. So can you repeat the question and I will give a response?
Yeah. Are there any initiatives on CO2 conversion to elemental carbon or graphite using high energy lasers for further replacement of wood as an extensive construction material while saving trees?
Okay, the first thing I would say is that in carbon conversion, we're focused on use of anthropogenic carbon dioxide, meaning coming from industrial point sources or that has been concentrated from direct air capture. So the use of anthropogenic carbon dioxide into products that are considered valuable for a market or something is applicable to our conversion program. So the process you just noted, it seems to use CO2. So as long as the CO2 is coming from an anthropogenic source like industrial facility, power plant, or coming from a DAC process, then that should be applicable. As long as they can show the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and improvements and stuff like that, then that should be applicable. but you have to use the CO2 from either a point source or from direct air capture processes. So, you know, you just can't like grow a plant or grow a tree and then cut it down and then use it or something like that. That's more applicable to bikers within the CDR program. For carbon conversion, you have to actually use some type of CO2 that is coming from the flue gas or from the air. I hope that answers the question.
Great, thanks, Aaron.
Let me add one thing. You know, carbon products like graphite, nanotubes and so forth are also a common goal of methane pyrolysis projects. And so that's another pathway towards solid carbon that, you know, would work under this call. So just wanted to mention that.
Thank you for that, Bob. I appreciate the additional context there. And Aaron, there was another question or a few questions that came in for you. One is the $1 million funding ceiling for the proposal only for the US side, with the full proposal being a larger amount? And two, how do we best engage with the FECM program officers in relation to this call?
The first question I will answer, yes, that is correct. The $1 million maximum limit only applies to the US part of the overall project. That is correct. And the overall project could be, say, 3, 4, 5, 6 million or whatever, even probably higher. So only the $1 million only apply to the US part of the project. And can you repeat the second part of the question, please?
How do we best engage with the FECM program officers in relation to this call?
All the contact information will be provided for the point of contact for the different program areas, and then it's best to send an email and reach out that way. And then other types of meetings will be established from that initial meeting.
Great, thanks, Aaron. So
thank you.
The emails that'll be listed in the presentations that we post on the event page is the best way to reach out. And there have been a few people who have raised their hands, so just if you have any questions or comments, please put them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. With that, let me see if I can find a clarifying question. Industrial partners from the US will be partnered with the national labs. Is that correct? Or can they, I guess, partner with other entities or separately from the national labs?
Industrial partners from the US must partner with the national lab. As was mentioned during the presentation, the national lab is responsible for the entire US part of the project. So all the funding are sent directly to the national laboratory, who will transfer funding to the industrial partner as a subcontractor based upon the project arrangements and things like this. So yes, industrial partners must partner with a US DOE national laboratory. That is the main responsible US entity for the US part of the entire project.
All right, great, thank you. And then another question that I think can be directed to the conversion side of things, but also potentially to CDR through BECs or bikers. Will any of the program provide funding for improvements of nature-based solutions, such as employing genetic manipulations?
I believe nature-based solutions will follow maybe under CDR bikers approaches. I don't know, Marina could speak to that, because we're only funding, as I noted earlier, the projects that deal with, you know, creating value-added products that incorporate CO2 into the process, either from point sources or from direct air capture.
Yeah, so when it comes to nature-based solutions, it all flows back to our target around durable carbon storage. So traditionally, afforestation, reforestation would not fall within our purview. A lot of soil carbon sequestration would likely not fall within kind of the purview of the pathways we fund. But the bikers, kind of the biomass removal to carbon storage in the form of potentially forming a value add product, as Aaron noted, or locking into another form that would. So kind of those more traditional nature-based solutions are funded out of other offices outside of FECM.
Great, thank you, Marina. And then I think this is probably for Aaron, potentially for Aga. Will we need consortium agreements for the team? If yes, does DOE have a template we can use?
I can start, and maybe Aaron can fill in. Yes, you will need a consortium agreement signed by all partners, but this is a bit tricky, and the reason it's tricky is that you will need a consortium with European partners, and the Europeans, they very often prefer a consortium agreement that is a standard European Union template, and that does not always fit for US partners. So you need to discuss with all your consortium partners to find a common ground for what kind of template you will use as a consortium agreement. In many previous projects, they have ended up with two different agreements. One consortium agreement signed by European partners, and then an additional agreement signed by American partners and the European main partner or coordinator, to put it like that. And based on experiences, we see that this might be the best way forward. Aaron, would you like to add to that, or Andrew maybe?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Augie. So yes, consortium agreements are very important. Those have always been kind of challenging when we're dealing with these multi-international collaborations. So we don't really have a template here at the DOE. We try to leave it up to each national laboratory to use their own standard procedure and templates and process. However, we can put you in contact with successful people from national laboratories who have navigated that area within CETP. Andrew may have further additional comments. Thank you.
No, I think you said it all, Aaron. Yeah, it is a challenge for U.S. government agency to work with international partners, but from the perspective of FECM, we think that the CETP program is very valuable, and it offers us an international insight into technology development that broadens our capabilities. So we really value that. But I think Aaron addressed the question. Thank you.
Can I just add one comment? I recommend that as soon as you have a consortium in place, you start discussing among all partners how you will handle this situation with a consortium agreement, because we often see that once new projects are announced, it takes months before they get started because they struggle with a consortium agreement. So the earlier you start planning how to handle the consortium agreement, the better, and the earlier you will be able to start.
Great, thank you to all three of you for helping provide answers to that. Question, I think this is more for Andrew. I recently attended a webinar on DOE's available tools for life cycle analyses on carbon conversion. I think that was our workshop last week with regards to LCA tools for 45Q. Andrew, are there similar tools available for point source capture, life cycle analyses?
So we, for our projects, we actually leverage the National Energy Technology Laboratory team to do life cycle analysis for us. So we do it that way. I'm not aware of any additional tools per se, other than what was presented in the presentation that you mentioned earlier, the week earlier. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for what's available out there.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andrew. This question, I'm having a little hard time interpreting it, but I'm going to ask it anyway in case anyone kind of understands what it's referring to. Any updates on CO2 soaking on the CCUS studies?
Not sure what CO2 soaking means.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was having trouble with. So if you're still on the line and want to provide more clarity on that question, please feel free. With that, we have pretty much ended the Q&A portion, and just have a few minutes here for concluding remarks and to end the meeting. So I'm going to pass the mic back over to Aga and Aaron. If you guys have any concluding remarks that you guys would like to provide.
Well, thanks to everybody for attending this webinar. It's very good to see that so many are interested in the CETP call. And I was happy with all the questions. There were a lot of good questions. So it's good to see that a lot of stakeholders ready for this CETP call. And if there should be any questions, I will be ready to answer if they are on TRI3 level, on CCUS or hydrogen or renewable fuels. And Andrew and Aaron and the DOE experts will be able to answer when if it's a question on US level, I guess. But thank you to everybody. It was very interesting to join you.
Yes, thank you, Alex, for hosting this webinar. Thanks to Augie for participating, given a difference in the time zones. We appreciate that. Thank you to all our presenters from the DOE. And at last but not least, thank you to all the participants who joined the webinar. So yes, we thank you for your questions. And if you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact the respective point of contact for the program area that will be in the presentation slide. And also, we wish you all the very best in collaborations and organizing your project teams for proposals and your topic areas. Thank you, and happy proposal writing.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and hope you have a great weekend. And we will post the recording and presentations sometime next week. So keep an eye out for that. All right. Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.